Lethal Company is a masterclass in game design that illustrates just how talented indie developers are in a sea of AAA trash. While larger studios have been pumping out sequel after sequel of rehashed IP, small teams and solo developers have continued to innovate and push forward the barrier of what it takes to be considered an excellent game. Through its clever spins on simple gameplay and brilliant sound design, Lethal Company is a perfect example of how talented indie developers push out ahead and set new heights for the gaming industry. Just to catch anyone who isn't familiar up to speed, Lethal Company is a horror comedy game taking place in the near future where Amazon successfully enslaves the human space civilization. To accomplish the goal of pleasing your corporate overlords in hopes of living another day, you must travel to an assortment of abandoned moon bases to seek out their valuable treasures, such as rubber duckies and Rubik's Cubes. What? Unfortunately, however, you and your crew are not the only life forms interested in the abandoned moon bases. Therefore, the gameplay loop is as follows. You land on a moon, gather scrap and bring it back to your ship before being eaten alive, do this a couple more times before your deadline date, and then you travel to the company building to pay your dues. Besides the monsters you encounter, this gameplay quickly seems to be repetitive and boring, considering that your quota grows more and more tedious with each successful quota met. This, however, could not be further from the truth. Zeekerss, the developer of the game, adds a little fresh spin to just about every aspect of the game to incentivize the player to keep collecting scrap, leading them to their next hilariously terrifying experience. Your ship's computer offers the player a place to navigate to moons and purchase equipment in order to help the player. Which I have to mention, having to type in commands into the console in order to just advance the game is incredibly fun because it makes you feel like you're hacking into the CIA just to order a flashlight. Items in this game are conveniently bad, but in a good way. While a flashlight is very helpful in the dark interior of the moon bases you explore, because they have so little battery life, you tend to run through the corridors instead of walking to be more efficient. This carelessness often leads you to accidentally stepping on landmines placed throughout the dungeon. These landmines can prove fatal if confronted by a coil head, as you often are forced to walk backwards to prevent them from rushing you.
Hello?
You can also purchase an extension ladder, which can help you reach some of the hard-to-access fire escape doors. Splitting your group between the main entrance and the fire exits can help you cover more ground and therefore obtain more scrap. However, if you stay a little late on a moon, recovering your precious ladder can put you in some hairy situations. The scrap items you discover as you explore the moons are also conveniently crafted for the same purpose. While all loot has an associated weight to it, making it harder for you to escape monsters you encounter, some items present a greater challenge. Relatively valuable if you can make it back with them, Chatterteeth for example, having no weight, constantly emit sound. Being one of the only items that has this property, they are uniquely challenging to retrieve as they can alert eyeless dogs, which hunt outside between the ship and the base. Now is a good time to mention that your experience can differ from day to day in game, as the moons experience weather events such as storming. A storming moon makes it hard to carry metallic items on your character while outside, as you have to frequently drop them and move away to avoid being struck by lightning. While this wasn't a comprehensive list of all the clever spins on existing gameplay concepts that exist in Lethal Company, you now understand how intertwined gameplay elements encourage the player into experiencing the best aspects of the game organically. In contrast, many AAA titles force the player to experience their content through monotonous grinds, endless series of word vomit to explain the gameplay, and other poorly thought up content delivery vehicles. The first thing you'll notice when you initially boot up the game is how unsettling the music is and how well it sets you up for what's to come. After gathering your friends, you hop into your first soul-crushing shift for the company. Making your way across the barren moon, the echoes of your voices bounce off the sand-dusted walls and you become immersed in the atmosphere of this strange world.
What, you never seen a gigantic pumpkin?
No. I mean, seriously, the quality of the audio speaks for itself, but I think the brilliance of how it's presented deserves elaboration, so you can gain as much of an appreciation for it as I have.
Oh, I'm about to nut.
Exploring the base with your buddies, you realize how incredibly intuitive and easy it is to locate them, even if they rush ahead of you into the darkness. Although there exists many other games that utilize proximity chat, yes, this is nothing new in of itself, the way that it is approached in this circumstance blows all of your past experiences out of the water. You can easily tell how far away someone is from you, whether or not they're above or below, around a corner, or if they're in a big echoey room. This implementation of VoIP is not only incredibly immersive from a gameplay perspective, it's an innovation on the technology that leads to hilarious events. For example, some of the moons you land on have bodies of water or quicksand that your not so smart friend of the group is going to find a way to fall into. While normally this would be pretty amusing on its own to watch them drown, slipping deeper below the surface, their voice becomes more and more gurgled as they scream for help.
I'm sinking!
No. But this isn't the only case of supremely well-crafted sounds. The abrupt cut of your voice when you fall and die is just brilliant.
It's not him that look away.
While some would chalk this game up to loud equals funny gameplay, I think this is only part of the equation as to why we as players really love the experience. Maybe I can't speak for everybody, but I think a significant reason why we love the game as much as we do is because it's our shift at the job. The game isn't about collecting scrap and running away from spooky monsters. It's about collecting scrap and running away from spooky monsters starring us and our friends. Others I've heard talk very positively about this game have made the great point that the game kind of turns you into your own professional voice actor. Professional in quotations. By innovating on the way that we experience each other's company through VoIP technology, this game enhances the great things about hanging out with your friends, laughter, and shared tribulations.
My main goal is to blow up.
Over the years, we have repeatedly observed as AAA studios make lofty promises and raise expectations for their products, only to under-deliver or otherwise provide unsatisfying video games at hefty prices. A large aspect of this problem can be attributed to how these companies operate. Large development studios have a responsibility to make financial returns on their much larger scope and development overhead. The reality is, it's much harder to orchestrate development of huge blockbuster titles. However, in an attempt to raise the probability of creating a successful project, many of these companies resort to lower risk-taking at the expense of creative game design. It's much easier to do a spin on an existing IP. Indie developers operate under much different circumstances. They're not only unable to take on such a wide development scope, they also usually can't rely on having pre-existing projects to pay for the cost of seeing a venture through to its completion. Therefore, a small developer's goal is to design a game that is reasonably small enough in scope to complete and prioritizes gameplay as much as possible in order to attract a new audience. A consequence of these realities of development means that indie developers don't have nearly the same amount of politics to deal with and can be much more agile to the market. They can create games that take anywhere from a year to a few years to get in the hands of players, at least in early access anyways, all the while acting as a litmus test for what gameplay is most appealing. Despite approaching this topic through the lens of Lethal Company up to this point, there are a non-insignificant amount of indie developers who have hit it big every year with their innovative games. You should really take into consideration how amazing it is that these developers are creating products that are being compared to the best of what AAA can offer. Sometimes you even get instances where it's not just a matter of popularity, but even sales and revenue associated with these smaller games can outdo that of these larger titles. Not only should these developers be very proud of their accomplishments, you as the gamer should definitely keep your eyes out for fantastic games created by indie companies that don't set you back $70 and your will to live.